Hi, welcome to another episode of Dil Ki Baat. This is the Motown India show and my name is Punnoose Tharyan. Of all the journalists I read and watch, there is one who stands out and I really admire her, and she is Baat. She was once upon a time a leading anchor at NDTV television channel, and now she has her own channel that goes by the name of Motown Story. That's on YouTube. I watch that regularly. In fact, I've subscribed to it too. The reason why I admire her is that she is so brave. I mean, she denotes everything what is journalism. She defines journalism in the most beautiful way. What is a journalist supposed to do? Get you a fair story, get you an unbiased version of what's going on around. So she has been doing that despite the fact that she lost her father recently to COVID. She continues to cover COVID, not sitting in a room like this and feeling safe, but going out, moving out to one of the worst hit areas in the country. A few days back she was in Uttar Pradesh, in some of the craziest places where COVID deaths have been increasing, where bodies have been dumped at riversides. So she's been reporting from there, and I must say that's very brave journalism. In fact, all over the world and in our country too, there are journalists who go to some of the most dangerous places. You must have read about the reporter from Gaza Strip when a battle was going on between Israel and Palestine. They were reporting in an area where bombs were falling. In fact, the whole place was getting destroyed, and yet they were brave enough to report. I wonder how many of them are safe today. So that brings me to auto journalism. Is that journalism? Well, I've been an auto journalist for quite some years. In fact, somewhere in the late 90s I became an auto journalist. Earlier I was an economic journalist with few newspapers that included the Hindustan Times, the Indian Express and the Pioneer. And then I joined auto journalism in late 90s, and that was with Auto India, part of the big Business India group then. Business India at that time was quite a big group. I left Auto India within a few months because salaries never came in. So I was desperate, so I left. And finally in 99, if I remember, I joined Autocar. When we started Autocar, I was the Delhi bureau chief, the senior most person there in Delhi, and subsequently I also became the Delhi bureau chief of Autocar Professional. I was more confined to reporting on B2B. Now within the automotive journalism field, there are two distinct areas. One is B2B, that includes all the corporates, interviews, all the serious stuff. It could be anything to do with plant technology, it could be anything. And on the other side, you have the B2C. That's a lot more glamorous. You get to drive cars and bikes and whatnot. You have a lot of fun here. There's less fun here. There's a lot of serious stuff here. There's a lot of enthusiastic stuff here. I'm not saying that's bad journalism. But what I want to tell you today is Indian auto journalism really journalism? And as a journalist, I don't think many in the area of auto journalism have gone through the journalism I've gone through. Since I started with the newspapers, I understand what journalism is. I was on the news desk as a sub-editor when I started in 1987 and subsequently moved on to the reporting section. Now, who's a sub-editor and what does the editing section do? Well, again, there are two sides to a story. In fact, two sides to journalism. One is the reporting side, one is the editing side. These two guys, or these two set of people, are known as journalists. All the marketing guys and accountants and other people are not journalists. In fact, the camera persons who work under the two structures, they too fall under the category of journalists. So you call them photojournalists or camera journalists. So they also have junior journalists or junior cameraman, and they go up to the level of a chief camera person or a chief photographer. So what does the editing guy do? Well, he's how do I explain? I'll explain that in simple forms. He's like, जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं धोबी है. धोबी क्या करता है? वो कपड़े धोता है, वो press करता है. So he's like the washerman. He washes your clothes, he irons your clothes, but he's never in front. He's never gets a glamorous role. And then you have the reporter. So editing is so important. If you see a print magazine or a print newspaper, you get to see that all the headlines, the reports which have been edited, they're all done by the editing team. Sub-editor upwards, senior sub, chief sub-editor, news editor, These are the guys who do it. So they have a very responsible job to do, but they are unsung. Nobody knows about them. And that's the reason why I switched on to become a reporter. A reporter is when you come to the field and you start writing based on your sources, based on your interviews, and that's where glamour is, your name. If you're in the print, you won't have your picture there, but definitely you'll have your name there, so you become famous. Similarly, in the television and internet, you have people in front of the camera, like the way I'm in front of the camera. So I'm a reporter. So when I'm a reporter, I'm in front of the camera, or an anchor. So the guys behind, all those guys behind, even camera persons, they tend to get lost. In fact, they're like the dhobis. Nobody understands them. वो कपड़े धोते रहते हैं. For example, if you were to wear a nice t-shirt and if you're looking good, they're going to compliment you for your t-shirt and the way you look. They're going to say, वाह भाई, t-shirt बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है आपके ऊपर. आप handsome लग रहे हो. आप अच्छे लग रहे हो. But will they ever ask you, कौन से धोबी ने इसको धोया था या कौन से धोबी ने इसको press किया था? That's the role of the editing team. They are unsung. Poor chaps, they are never heard of. They do a lot of hard work. We just give all our crap and shit, sorry to use those words, and we give it on to the editing team. Similarly, in television and internet, where you have YouTubes and other stuff, you are in front of the camera, but there are video editors and camera persons and all the other guys. They're the unsung heroes. So let me define what journalism is. Let me read this out. I don't want to get the quotes wrong. According to the American Press Institute, journalism is the activity of gathering, assessing, creating, and presenting news and information. It is also the product of these activities. Journalism can be distinguished from other activities and products by certain identifiable characteristics and practices. These elements not only separate journalism from other forms of communication, they are what make it indispensable to democratic societies. There you go. It's very important that you understand what journalism is. It's so different from all other forms of communication. You communicate with somebody, that's not journalism. Journalism is very different, whether it's print media or whether it's the audiovisual media. When I started my career in 1987, media or journalism was confined to the print media, which is newspaper and magazine. Then you had the radio, and then you had a bit of television in the form of Doordarshan. That's all. And now the entire thing has spread so much that it's not only become exciting but murkier. And there we have the internet, where nothing is defined, there is no discipline. It's a free-for-all. You wear your clothes, you don't wear your clothes, you jump, you don't jump, you look stupid, you look nice. There is no definition at all, no standard set, and that's the beauty of the internet. And the internet, the platform that we work on are YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Now, are these forms of communication also media or journalism? I don't think so. It's entertainment. Entertainment, in fact, is also a part of journalism, but unfortunately, not this kind of entertainment where you have a free-for-all. Now, before I go any further, let me also tell you a bit about the fourth estate. Now, what does that mean? The media is often referred to as the fourth estate. I don't want to confuse you guys who are there in the real estate that fourth estate is part of the real estate. It's different. The term fourth estate is often attributed to British politician Edmund Burke. Thomas Carlyle in the 19th century was a Scottish historian, satirical writer, essayist, translator, philosopher, mathematician, and teacher. Thomas Carlyle, in Heroes and Hero Worship in History, writes, now here he quotes Burke. Burke said that there were 3 estates in Parliament, but in the reporters' gallery yonder, there sat a 4th estate, more important far than them all. So there you go. It's very, very important. It is as important as the other 3 estates. Now, which are the other 3 estates? In England, the 3 estates preceding the 4th estate were the king, the clergy, and the commoners. But in the United States, the term 4th estate is sometimes used to place the press alongside the 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. So in short, journalism or media is like a watchdog. Now let me tell you about automotive journalism. Is there any journalism in automotive journalism? मुझे नहीं लगता. There is no journalism. It is fun. It is where all the enthusiasts come together, drive, have fun, they ride a bike, they toss it around, they break it sometime. It's all fun and it's all controlled by the original equipment manufacturers or OEMs. They are the car manufacturers and the two-wheeler manufacturers. Without their support, you just cannot progress. अगर आपको गाड़ी चलानी है तो आपको पूछना होगा ना, भैया मुझे गाड़ी दे दीजिए. आपको बाइक चलानी होगी तो आप पूछना होगा ना, भैया मुझे टू व्हीलर चलानी है. So that is the way this works. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. So is that journalism? I don't think so. To a certain extent, journalists do require a little bit of help in terms of support. But when we get pampered beyond a point, journalism ends, something else starts. And now, what do I mean by all this? Typically today, every press conference which used to take place before the COVID, thankfully the COVID has put a halt to all this nonsensical form of media interaction with the OEMs. Well, like I said, in the B2B segment, you had less of that. In the B2C segment, it is awash with absolute greed and bribery. Now, what is this bribery and greed? Well, as a journalist today, I have been an entrepreneur for the last 10 odd years. 2009, I left Autocar, and 2010, I started Motown India. So when you're an entrepreneur, you have to see two things. You have to make sure that you get the good stories, and you also have to make sure that you are able to get the finances. But more about automotive journalism in my next episode. I shall tell you how automotive journalism in India, I don't know how it works abroad, has fallen to such levels where that you are a slave to the OEMs. I'll explain that in detail. Stay tuned and do tell us and do write to us how you find this episode. I want to be truthful. I want to be honest. I want to tell future generation, you want to have fun. Don't call yourself a journalist. Just call yourself an enthusiast and have fun. In fact, the media tag should be taken away from auto journalists or the so-called auto journalists. We are not media. We are guys who have a lot of fun. I'll explain that in detail in my next episode. Take care and stay safe.